Welcome to the King Leo Show. I'm your host, King Leo. How's everyone doing tonight? Let's make sure the audio's okay. All right, we're good. How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to the King Leo Show. Tonight we have to talk about, are you feeling real peaceful today? You know, the war ended yesterday. We should all be incredibly happy and pleased. Sorry, I got a little nick there. You know, it's a good time. I think I have memberships to give out. Let me do that before we start. Yeah, send these, and I'm going to send another couple ones. Let's do that. Boom. And boom. All right, let's see who got them. T. Jackson, Ismail. Is it even 10 o'clock? It's not even 10 o'clock. Perfect. We're good. How's everyone? Oh, how are you doing, J-Boss? Did you get one? No, J-Boss did not get a membership. All right. Well, Street Cat Munchies again. Lucky. How's everyone doing? How you doing, J-Boss? Yeah, man. It's very peaceful today. I've been feeling very at peace. You know, it's a peaceful time. This anticlimactic end to the war, I think a lot of people are feeling it. You know, but it's fine. You know, I think it's a good time. Latest thing is this thing with the Vatican. You know, as a postmodern Catholic, I feel like I may be the last Catholic, man. I really do. Because personally, this isn't any of my business. You know, I would expect, I see all these people complaining like, oh, you can't say that to the Pope. And I'm just like, the Pope can't say that. This is above my pay grade, man. What do I have to do with this? You know, what do I have to do with this? But anyway, it's 10 o'clock. Welcome to the King Leo Show. How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to the King Leo Show. As usual, if you're new here, please like, comment, and subscribe. A little Portuguese greeting for our friend. Boa noite, J-Boss. Como estai? JG Chefe. Como estai? Let's do our plugs, man. We haven't done those in a while, but be sure you like, comment, subscribe, guys. That's what helps the most. Here's the plugs. We have here our Patreon, which is $5 or $20 a month. We have a newest member, Ringo Lamb, very cool guy there. He's in our Discord as well. Smart guy who loves his movies. We have new episodes every Sunday, maybe 2 episodes this week for a little bit, because Ringo Lamb made an interesting suggestion in terms of doing the decades as well. We have Discord over here as well, which is I need to get active on here, man. I keep forgetting. But I've been active. I've been pretty active. I'm going on once a day, so I'm accessible on here. And we also have the What Would He Postmodernist Do parody bracelet available at the coffee link below. Actually, is it available? Let me check if we put that in the link real quick before we continue. I think I might have forgotten that. I'm supposed to do that every show. Yeah, I forgot it. 1 second, everyone. Boomer Tech. But yeah, man, I put up I guess everyone's feeling good, right? It feels like VJ Day. Feels like the end of a terrible war. Should be all happy that the war's. I feel like it's very anticlimactic, man. I feel like like a lot of Trump things, it feels like no one is exactly satisfied with the outcome, whether it be the Iranians or the Americans. No one's really like, hell yeah, we won or we lost. You know, there's an indefinite conclusion here. Did the war even happen? You know, they say 17 people died. I didn't know any of them. You know, minimal casualties on the American side. Baudrillard vindicated once again. Was it a real war? But we really have to talk about Megyn Kelly, who's just spiraling here. But I do think that there's a theory that's developing since this war started, which is that they're really using this in order. Trump is, my producer is the one who helped me see this, but he's saying that they're treating Trump as a lame duck. And JD is supposed to usurp this movement from him. And this is why all these attacks on Trump are happening from the podcast sphere. I don't know if that's true or not, but it does seem to be the most plausible thing given the insane reactions we've seen from people like Megyn Kelly and others, which we're going to go through here to this war. But before we do all that, we got to get to Schizo Watch, and we have to start here with my governor, man. So let's get into it. So while we've been fighting the war in Iran abroad, my governor, the most hungry governor in America, the hungriest governor, his name is Ron DeSantis. If you're not familiar with him, Meatball Ron. He is very, very, he's a great governor. He's the greatest governor in America. Honestly, one of the greatest to ever do it, Ron DeSantis. I love Ron DeSantis. I love when he does his little show where he goes and eats at restaurants while no one can afford a roof insurance. I love you, Ron DeSantis. You're the greatest. No, obviously I hate him. I hate Ron DeSantis. I hate Ron DeSantis. And we're doing, how you doing, Robert? I appreciate the super chat, sir. Boom, boom, boom. My favorite vlogger, second to none. I appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you very much. Robert keeps the lights on around here. Appreciate you, sir. That's why your name's in the Chiron. How you been, man? Been missing you. And Afra's here, too. We have a little crowd. I don't think the war has ended. Someone just told Trump we did not win. Someone convinced him we won. $7 gas. No, I completely agree. How is gas? Where? Robert, you're in Nevada. How much is gas in Nevada? Efra, where are you? J Boss, how much is gas in Europe? Let's do a gas survey. I'll tell you, Florida, I'm going to write it in the chat. Florida, gas is currently $4.30. What is everyone else? We should do a little study here, a micro study. I don't want to rely on the real stuff. How much is gas everywhere? In California, my producer told me, I think it's like $6.50, which is insane, but it's California, so it's always like that. But as you guys submit your gas prices, please, I'm very curious to know. I know J Boss has to do it in those communist units, liters. I hate that. I hate that. I hate centimeters. I hate liters. Yes, I am an American. I love the mile and the gallon. It's my favorite. While we've been fighting the war abroad, $5, says Robert. Is that normal? How much is it normally, Robert, in Nevada? But while we've been fighting the war abroad, because over here it's like it was $2.30, $2.50 up until the war. $2.30 on a good day. All right, look. My governor has decided to join this war. He has decided to join the war while everyone in Florida is starving. We don't have food. People are eating off the streets. They are broke.
I can't eat. I'm broke, nigga. I'm broke.
That's your average Floridian right now. Floridians are struggling. But don't worry. Ron DeSantis is going to fix our state. And how is he going to do this? Let's see what he signed the other day here. What is my governor doing? What are the priorities in Florida? Now they're cheering pretty heavily, right? You know, this has to be a great bill. This has to be, maybe it's relief for working families or something. Maybe it's something really good, right? Maybe he's subsidizing gas prices so that we can borrow a little bit, use our savings for that. Maybe that's what Ron DeSantis did. Maybe Ron DeSantis is giving everyone a free car and that's why they're so happy. No, he has banned Sharia law.
We live in hell. We live in the gutter.
Florida has banned Sharia law. Florida has banned Sharia. Was this a problem in Florida? I was not aware of Sharia law in Florida. I know there's Sharia mediation, which is normal, just like Jewish people have kosher mediation. And Catholics have like Catholic mediation. But I don't think that Florida we weren't having a problem. I don't think people were out there beating their wives. What's the cartoon version of Sharia law we know here? Beating their wives for disobeying, or I don't know, like cutting people's hands off for stealing. That might actually work. Actually, that might actually work. That might actually work. Some guy says, is there a total of like 5? Dude, there's like, all right, we have Muslims in Florida, of course, but they're pretty chill. The only terrorist attack from Muslims that we never had was ISIS was going to blow up a beach and the FBI just, how do you blow up a beach? You know? Robert says he's scared of Sharia. No, I get it. I just don't think that in Florida, you know, we have Muslims in Tampa. I just don't. People can't afford groceries, and we're talking about Sharia law. But don't worry, this isn't it. This isn't it. Don't fret. He also did this. This is great stuff. Ron DeSantis has decided here that he's going to ban what he calls shadow Sharia law. Let's see what shadow Sharia law is.
There's some other things that were part of this package that we may need to add in upcoming, because I think there were some things that really need. I mean, for example, Florida doesn't ban cousin marriage, and that's a hanging curveball for us to do. We need to do that. Other states have done it. I don't know why we wouldn't, but obviously that feeds in to some of the stealth jihad that we see, when you're allowing things like that. It's things that are coming in from other cultures that are not consistent with the United States culture, and certainly our culture here in Florida.
There is now stealth jihad. There was overt jihad, and now there is stealth jihad. Overt jihad is 9/11. It's planes into buildings. But stealth jihad is marrying your cousin. Listen, I am an astronaut family. I don't know my cousins. I'm sure that I have plenty of cousins that I've never met. I don't really, listen, I don't think it's good to marry your cousin. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I have to think that. It's disgusting.
You can't do it. It's disgusting.
You don't marry your cousin. It's bad for your genetics. But I don't think that marrying your cousin is stealth jihad. I have trouble. How you doing, Eves? I have trouble believing that they are doing jihad by marrying their cousins. Also, wasn't this, I seem to recall one of our greatest presidents was married to his cousin. But I mean, that's one that I know of. FDR was married to his cousin. But I'm sure other people have done it. I don't think this is exclusive. I'm not saying we shouldn't ban marrying your cousin. All I'm saying is, how is this jihad? Stealth, when I think of stealth jihad, I think of 9/11, but they're wearing masks or something. They're like, I don't know. What is stealth jihad? Stealth jihad is like, they're using encryption. They're hacking banks or something. How is marrying your cousin stealth jihad? Stealth jihad sounds to me like spicy shawarma. It's like they sell it to you like it's normal shawarma, but it's spicy. Stealth jihad, that's a great band name right there. We are stealth jihad. What the fuck is stealth jihad? But he's incredibly proud of this accomplishment. I shit you not, dude. 3 years in a row, it came out this week, Miami-Dade County has been losing people. Net loss. Hadn't happened since the 70s. And we're banning cousin marriage and Sharia law. Those are the priorities. But not only that, he had to go on Sean Hannity, obviously, to talk about it.
My free state of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor, good to see you. Maybe I'm just a little ignorant here. I didn't know that it was legal to marry a first cousin.
Well, in a lot of states, it's not. Florida needs to get with the program on that one. It's obviously part of cultures that are antithetical to American values. And so that's...
How can it be part of cultures antithetical to American values? Was FDR not American? I feel like a lot of Americans have married their cousins. I'm not saying that was a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this is exclusive to Muslims. Isn't this how we got the Habsburg jaw and all this? Because everyone was doing this at one. Again, don't marry your cousin. PSA, hey, you shouldn't marry your cousin. It's not a good idea to marry your cousin. However, I don't think this is exclusive to a culture. Wasn't everyone marrying their cousins at one point? How can it be? Do you understand? This is ridiculous.
Something that we will get done one way or another. But on the broader issue of not allowing Islamist groups to get public money from things in Florida, whether it's education or any of the other things that we're doing, you've got to draw a very clear red line. And the red line I've drawn is we'll spend millions on public safety, millions on education, but not 1 cent for jihad. And so we have to identify.
We weren't spending cents on jihad. Florida, now I'm curious. Now I want to know, was Florida funding jihad?
Netanyahu,
What do you have to say?
The governor said that we're going to stop funding jihad. Were we paying for the 9/11 hijackers to train in Naples? Was that Florida? It was. Do you see why living in this state is just insane?
We live in hell. We live in the gutter.
This doesn't make Florida. I don't think we ever funded jihad. I'm not aware of Florida unless Rick Scott accepted the word of the Prophet Muhammad. Like, what are we talking about? Florida is not funding jihad. One more time. Let's see this. Let's see one more time.
Public safety, millions on education, but not 1 cent for jihad. And so we have to identify groups that are supporting these organizations. And it may not be that they're personally committing attacks, but if they're funding them or providing material support, that's something that our state has got to recognize and then act appropriately. And then the legislation I did also has a firm ban on any use of Sharia law, not just at the state level. We don't want to end up like Europe, where they have no-go zones, where you have these little subcultures where this stuff's imposed. That now is totally off the table in Florida.
Also, in terms of banning Sharia law, I don't want to get autistic, but it doesn't even make sense. Because Sharia law can't be imposed over common law. It's used in mediation, just like kosher law. What do Jews call it? It's the Talmudic law. If you're Jewish, you can't take an oath. Like in court, they tell you it's okay. You don't have to take an oath because it's against Jewish tradition or something, which is, that's accommodating to them so they can participate in the common law. This is essentially banning a type of mediation. And I don't understand how you can ban Sharia. How would this not ban kosher law or Catholic law in private mediation? That's a little autistic, but I just don't understand the priorities in my state, I can't drive in my city because we have a bridge that they spent $800 million on. $800 million on. That is decorative and has cracks in it. So if I drive under it, I might die. But we're banning Sharia law. I mean, sensational. Absolutely sensational. The Floridian politics is undefeated. It's undefeated. This is, dude, Ron DeSantis he hates America.
You are fighting against America and you hate white people.
One of my favorite clips. What is this? Banning Sharia law. I guess, man. I don't know. All right. So that's how people in my state are doing. How's your state doing? How is New York is under Sharia law now, right? It's doing pretty good, supposedly. It's under Sharia law. Zohran Mamdani is beating women in public and flogging people. How is this guy the governor of this state? This is ridiculous. This is really... Because normally I'm more detached, but I have to live with this asshole at my state level. And he's banning Sharia law. Instead of being the governor, he is hosting his governor eating food show and banning Sharia law. Could we get more performative than this? Could we get more... All right, let's move on. I'm going to be a lot more Baudrillardian after this. Baudrillardian second. How you doing, Audio Vibes? All right, that was it. Let's look at President Trump, who says here he wants to be president of Venezuela.
And we, just so you understand, the people of Venezuela, they say if I ran for president of Venezuela, I'm polling higher than anybody has ever polled in Venezuela. So after I'm finished with this, I can go to Venezuela. I will quickly learn Spanish. It won't take too long. I'm good at language. And I will go to Venezuela. I'm going to run for president. But we're very happy with the president-elect that we have right now. The people that are running it.
How are you supposed to stay sane here, dude? What does that even mean?
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It
gets the people going.
Who is liking this? It's funny. It is funny, but he's going to be president of Venezuela after this. You know, this is the farewell tour or something. He's going to be president of Bolivia after that. I mean, it's funny. It's undeniably funny. No, but I think it's good. I think it's actually good. I think it would be good. Actually, if President Trump was president of Venezuela, he might make it great again. He might start the Venezuelan golden age or something. Yeah. What are we doing, folks? What are we doing? I mean, this is really something, huh? President Trump, president of Venezuela, and Presidente Trump. Don't let your dreams be dreams. You know, do it. He might as well do it. Actually, I think he would be better appreciated down there, to be honest. He'd do better down there. Great stuff. Let's continue. Let's continue. This is great over here. Let's see what our Secretary of Health is doing now.
For decades now, Americans have been told that we should trust the system, but our children are sicker, chronic diseases exploding, and the answers that we've been given aren't working. Many of us have come to the conclusion that government actually lies to us. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary. This podcast is about telling the truth, especially when it's uncomfortable. I'm going to have fearless conversations with critical thinkers, including independent doctors, respected scientists, and leaders in medical innovation and research. I'm going to ask the questions and lift the taboos and expose the hypocrisy and the conflicts and the corruption. We're going to follow the evidence wherever it leads. And we're going to name the names of the forces that obstruct the paths to public health. This isn't going to be about politics. It's about our families, it's about our children, and it's about confronting the spiritual malaise and embracing the truth. If we want a healthy nation, we have to confront the lies that have made us spiritually, morally, and physically sick. The time for half measures is now over. We're launching a new era of radical transparency in government here at HHS. I hope you'll join us in our mission to make America healthy again.
Sensational.
I'm not even against this. How you doing, CCTV? I'm just wondering here why Secretary Kennedy decided to go with an audio medium for this. You know, it could have been the Secretary Kennedy show, but he did the podcast because if you're not aware, Secretary Kennedy, he's not doing a voice. This is what he sounds like this. Hi, my name is Secretary. I'm not making fun of him. They say sometimes you have a face for radio. You know, you have a voice for the TV, Mr. Kennedy. Why are you? I don't even think this is that bad. People are saying, this is bad. How is he going to do his job if he's too busy hosting a podcast? People, they're so dumb. They think that this is like bad, that he can't. You didn't build a podcast, dude. You don't know how hard that is.
You didn't build that.
All right, this is very difficult. And I've always wanted something like this in America. This is very Latin American. This is very third world. They come out and speak to you, your public officials. Hugo Chavez used to have a show. So did Lopez Obrador in Mexico. They do little shows. His was called Hello, Mr. President. Hugo Chavez's, I forgot what. I think AMLO's was something like Coffee with the President. And now we're going to have the HHS podcast. I don't even think it's that. I actually think it's kind of cool. I hope he does. This is definitely going to make people schizo as a show. This is not. What is he going to be talking about on the podcast? I want to know, because I read 40 or something. He couldn't deliver on the actual policy, right? Like glyphosate is guaranteed in our food. But we're getting a podcast out of it. I mean, this is the least he could do, right? At least tell us what to eat and not to eat. How you doing, Spring? But, I'm just surprised Secretary Kennedy with that voice went with a podcast. I would have thought it'd be a show or something like that, because with that voice, buddy, I'm not sure the audio medium is good for you. You have to hire Roger Ailes for this one. I hope that it's actually good. I'm going to give it a chance. Why not give it a chance? Why not give it a chance? I'm not sure it's going to be great, but maybe we'll learn some health information that we wouldn't have known otherwise. I'd like to see all of them start podcasts. The Marco Rubio podcast. The people are shitting on it because people they don't want to accept that this is a little genius in some ways. Okay, this is somewhat genius. How is this any different from the FDR's fireside chats? You know, this is just our health secretary saying it. So, I mean, what is he going to talk about? And it's probably better. It probably shows you, what I like about this is that it shows you that you really can't do anything in the government anymore. You shouldn't really have hope in the government for a lot of reasons, but this is one especially where our health secretary he has enough time to launch a podcast. You know, that it's all performative. There is nothing that you're going to win here in terms of doing something. The best that they could do is a fireside chat at this point. It is bigger than us. We are too weak to conquer it. And at this point, it might as well be better to do podcasts. It'd actually be kind of cool if we started running instead for president for like the head podcast host in America. Might actually make things a little bit more chill. Then you're just going to get a different NPR. You know, they replaced NPR to give us the Secretary Kennedy podcast, and people are excited for it. So might as well, right? We might as well. Let's watch over here, Nick Shirley. This is conservative stuff, man. I love this. Let's watch Nick Shirley, the most articulate man in America.
The idea of wokeness is essentially the idea to remove God from everything. The idea of that a man can be woman means that God made a mistake, but God's the truth.
Yeah.
So wokeness is kind of the idea of wokeness really is the idea of just removing God and filling it with something else.
Yeah.
And so you are seeing that divide. Like if you go ask any of those, if you ask a large portion of those people that are yelling at ICE agents, when's the last time they went to church, or the last time they had a family meal, or when's the last time they said a prayer? Most of them couldn't answer. And so you're seeing, that's part of the big issue right now, is you're seeing wokeness, which is essentially the idea of removing God and filling it in with something else, kind of getting the brains of a lot of people.
Yeah. As the saying goes, idle time is the devil's workshop.
What the hell is he talking
about? Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
What the hell is he talking about? The Tucker Carlson wing has really, really worked the minds of people. Wokeness, I thought it was just a couple of annoying liberals. That's what I thought wokeness was. The problem with it was that it was some annoying liberals, you know. But now the woke want to remove God because they don't go to church. Is this an evangelical thing that I don't understand? You know, because I remember when the woke thing started, there were some fringe people like James Lindsay, remember that guy? Who used to say that wokeness is Calvinism. And I was like, all right, that sounds a little retarded, but I'll hear him out. But ever since then, we have this. It's like they're declaring a crusade against the woke. But I don't understand I thought, didn't woke people, my understanding, woke was just people that wanted, you know, for lack of a better term, equity or something. It was, if you wanted to, oh shit, hang on. We forgot to hang on 1 second. Be right back. We're back. Sorry, I wasn't charging the computer. Wokeness, my understanding of wokeness was that it was just a bunch of people who, for lack of a better word, you know, it was like bio-Leninism, like we needed all equity or something like that. And of course, it was religious in nature, like all things in the United States. But I don't think that they are replacing God with woke. I don't understand what this guy is retarded, man. Straight up, man. This can't be the case where this is the thought leader in the United States. This is all bullshit, man. Where are the woke? I would like to see where they are. There's no woke people left. Because now anything I don't like is woke. Remember they used to say anything I don't like is Hitler because the lefties were being annoying? Now everything I don't like is woke, and just like Tucker Carlson said, it's demonic, so it must be demonic. I don't buy it. J Boss says, why can't wokeness be postmodernism? I'm missing something obvious. It's not, because wokeness, this is where I'm stealing this from Cody Wilson, and Thaddeus Russell. They don't have anything to do with postmodernism, the woke. The woke believe in essentialist claims. They believe if you're black, you've always been oppressed and you will always be oppressed. And that's counter to all sense of postmodernism. Postmodernism does not believe in any truth claim, you know? That's why woke isn't postmodern, despite what Jordan Peterson said. Is Jordan Peterson alive? Where is Jordan Peterson? Has he been exiled?
Shut up. Be quiet before you get exiled.
I miss Jordan Peterson. Where is he? Michaela, bring Jordan back. Is he alive? His YouTube channel hasn't uploaded anything lately. Is he still alive? I'd love to know. And Spring says that James Lindsay said the right is woke. Yeah, exactly. So I don't understand, what is woke? I thought woke was dead. Piers Morgan, of all people.
Say the N-word, go on.
He told me that wokeness was dead. But apparently Nick Shirley is still fighting wokeness. J-Boss says, but King Leo, to them being black is not really essentialist, is it? Do they believe in genetics at that level? No, and that's what makes it even more. It's kind of like we associate wokeness with the transsexual movement. And the transsexual movement affirmed that you needed to change your body to express the different gender that you are. But I, as a true transgender, I'm a real transgender. Will the real transgenders please stand up with me? I'm a real transgender over here. This is a real transgender channel. We are transgender, okay? I don't have to modify my body to say that I'm transgender, because that would be essentialist. It would be essentialist to say that my physical body parts correspond to a gender or a sex. And that's why they never made much sense to me, because I was like, what are you talking about? That you need to change the gender of children physically for them to express their gender in another way. First of all, that's a bit confusing. But secondly, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, and also the being black thing, I don't even think they believed in the genetic portion. Of course not. But they did believe that black, it's kind of like, they used to say Bill Clinton was black. And a lot of people took that as a joke, but they were literally ascribing blackness to Bill Clinton. And the woke were more correct in some ways than the non-woke. Because they were saying, some people are of another culture, even despite their presentation. But in that claim itself, being black meant you were always oppressed, meant you were always marginalized. So that is an essentialist claim, in my view. I agree that wokeness is essentialist. Do they not complain about the rights essentialist? Do they not complain about the rights essentialism? I'm not sure I agree. That the rights essentialism. What is the rights essentialism? Isn't it? When you say the right, because I'm thinking conservative, right? The woke was largely fighting conservatism, not really the right wing. But it was essentialist to say that all the right were Nazis, and all this. So this is a good question, man. I think this merits its own video at some point. What was woke? Because to me, the woke were an essentialist movement of people that were very Calvinist. James Lindsay's retarded, but he was spitting with that one. It's like, there are the elect and there are the non-elect, and the elect deserve privileges and rights, and the other ones have, right, like white privilege, right? That wasn't relative. That was assigned to you at birth. That's what they believed in. They believed in things being assigned at birth, whether it be sex or white privilege. And I was like, the hell are you talking about? What about the white guy who's poor and his mom's a drug addict? How is he any more advantageous than someone else, And that merits its own video. But and I hate how you doing, sir? You got to create an enemy to attack an enemy. Yeah, that's true. But I would expect them to create a new enemy, a new enemy, but they won't. J-Boss says, and that race is not just skin color, but genes, and that culture comes from genetics. They never went that far, right? But they actually were saying it in some ways. I think Academic Agent did great stuff about that back in the day, where he was talking about how they would talk about how, Lizzo was expressing her culture by twerking while she played James Madison's flute, which was that was insane, dude.
Oh, coons, we wanna have fun. Oh, coons, we wanna have fun.
That was one of the craziest things I've seen in my life. Or Hamilton, that was the ultimate cooning. That Hamilton was the most evil thing perpetrated on this country since slavery. And so they were essentialists in that sense. They were saying, no, like being black means that you must twerk. Being white must mean that you are a colonizer oppressor. Whereas there is a lot, essentially cultural relativism. It's unfortunate because it was created by an American. And that is the right way of viewing the world in my point of view. But the woke, I found them to be essentialists in their claims. That's just me. All right. And Spring says ideologues are by definition essentialists. Is that true? Can you be a non-essentialist ideologue? Because postmodernists, a real postmodernist like Baudrillard doesn't even claim postmodernism. He said, I'm not any of that because he didn't want to be pigeonholed. And J-Boss says, I think I see your point, but I think essentialism is overloaded here. Both the right and left cannot be essential at the same time, I think. Well, why not, though? Because the right-wing essentialism, like the conservative essentialism, which is going to be much more short-sighted, is basically when they say, the Democratic Party is the party of the KKK. The Democrats are the real racists, the people who have fought all along for black liberation, even including during the Glorious Revolution, were the Republican Party of the United States. They probably think the Republican Party is what was fighting for Neanderthal rights back in the day. So why would it be mutually exclusive to either side, J-Boss? So it's an interesting perspective, but why would that be? How you doing, Mystery Lou? Yeah, and Marx said he's not a Marxist. Right, I think that is in ideology, right? Why not? Because they reject each other's essentialism. Yeah, but you can do that, right? You can be an essentialist of different types. I'm going to talk to Gemini about this. This is a good. I like this. This is a good one. Because they reject each other's essentialism. Yeah, but if they have their own essentialism, and we're looking at it through a cultural relativist lens, and they're both essentialists in their own mind, they will never be able to reconcile, of course, but they can each have their own essentialist views of the world. All right, this is getting too spurgy. Yeah. All right, we got to move on. We got to move on to the next segment. Great question. I'm going to actually research that. That's a video. Thank you guys for the video inspiration.
The people are retarded.
All right, let's check in on my fellow Gentiles. How are my Gentiles doing? Let's see this woman over here reacting to the war in Iran.
It's giving war crime.
Can't
do that. We don't just annihilate people because we can and, make a grab for the money and the oil. And that's what we've done in Venezuela. And that's what we're doing in Iran.
I love because I'm not a snob when it comes to language. I'm not. But one more time.
It's giving war crime.
I'm not a snob when it comes to language. I appreciate all language.
Gotta have them ribs. And pussy too.
I appreciate Ebonics. I appreciate AAV as it's known now. I appreciate dialects, vernacular. I appreciate them. However, to hear a 40-year-old woman say that it's giving war crime, I struggle to see the leveling of language at a global level where everyone is starting to sound like a 23-year-old woman. It's giving this, it's giving that. What are we, is this the future of speech? Is speech going to be, it makes sense because a lot of people thought that as the world went forward, we would have to resort to Pidgin, as everyone adopted English. So like, if you don't know how Pidgin English works, let me pull up the Pidgin BBC so I can read you some Pidgin. Nnamdi Kanu lawyer give update about the appeal as IPOB leader. They serve life imprisonment for Sokoto prison. Aloy, one of the lawyers, way been they represent the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. You see, this is Pidgin English. This is a simplified form of English, which is fine. A lot of people make fun of it. They're like, you hear a lot of people that are like, these low IQ blacks, racist. You can't say that. Why would you say that? Ebonics in itself is I am fascinated by vernacular. Okay. However, I'm not sure if Gen Z TikTok talk should be the future of English. Because Gen Z TikTok talk is it's giving war crime. Oh my God, girl. Like, is this how we're going to talk in the future? You're going to step in as the UN ambassador. You're going to be the UN ambassador in 2034. And the UN ambassador is going to say, like, Iran, it's giving that you're not being nice right now. It's giving fuckboy, honestly, Iran. I'm not sure that's the future we want to go into, you know? I'd rather we adopt, it'd be better if we did Jamaican patois. You know, that would be better. Like, Booyakasha, you know, that would be better than speaking in Gen Z. And are we going to have astronauts on the moon speaking in Gen Z? Oh my God, Houston, we have a problem. It's giving, like, is that going to be the future? This isn't, look, I'm not a snob, dude. I'm not saying it's dumbing down. We all have to create our own languages to understand each other. I mean, this is the George Soros dream, right? Esperanto. But I'm not sure if we want to go in this direction here. I'm not sure. I'm brushing up on my Gen Z English. We're going to have to get good at it, but let's continue. We have here, this really bothered me. We have to see this here. This is the latest trend here.
Wow, it's nice in here.
Are you committing, Mr. Yeah, you gotta get out.
Okay, I'll leave.
Get out.
We live in hell. We live in the gutter.
Why are they doing this to the Scientologists? Why are they doing this to the Scientologists? I feel like I'm the only Scientology defender. I really am. I don't have a problem with Scientology. I never understood what the issue is with them. Scientology, to me, it's a little bit wacky. But do I know more than Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise married Nicole Kidman and made one of the best movie franchises of all time. Why would I be opposed to something Tom Cruise does? L. Ron Hubbard was a 70s weirdo psychedelic guy who made a religion. Why do people want to harass the Scientologists? The Scientologists, and it's not just me being like a soft-hearted liberal, you know. I'm not being like a little hoe, like, oh, I love Scientology, you know. Scientologists, if you go to Clearwater, if you go to Tampa, they have preserved the coolest old buildings. They don't tear them down and build horrific stuff. They don't do that. They preserve old school factories and buildings, and not as some kitsch Brooklyn crap where they make it into like, what is it they do out in Brooklyn? I hate everything. Oh, we have the sugar factory and now the hipsters live in there. You heard? You know, no. They keep them and they look kind of cool, actually. If you walk around Ybor City or Clearwater, they look like untouched by brutalism and modernity. And they're actually, and they're not kitsch, they're cool looking. Why do you have to get up in their face? In the Scientologists, they never hurt me. I've never joined them because I think they're a little wacky. They're not my thing. But what is the big deal with Scientology? Why are you harassing? Hell is other people. What, because you saw one documentary by Leah Remini, who was probably just a disgruntled Scientologist? What is the big deal? What is the big deal? And everything says, isn't Scientology just put on? Yeah, that's why I don't even hate it. L. Ron Hubbard was one of the greatest of all time.
I am Shakespeare in the flesh. Walt Disney, Nike, Google.
L. Ron Hubbard was the greatest hypnotist of all time. Mad respects, big ups to him. I'm not better at hypnotism than L. Ron Hubbard. He got people to think that there are planets where Xenu lives or something and they're going to get there, okay? But Scientology is just the Nation of Islam for white people, Okay, they get people off drugs. They set up marriages. Every Scientologist I've met has been incredibly kind and a hustler. They've never, maybe when you're in it is when they get you in trouble, right? But what is the difference? I mean, if you steal from a store, you're going to jail in regular society too. What is the big deal? It's just they get you off drugs, I assume. No one's doing this to the Nation of Islam. Why don't they do it to them? And I like the Nation of Islam. Yeah, they're wacky too. They're wacky guys. I don't know what the hell they believe about Yaqub. I think it's an interesting story, though. I appreciate it. Why do you have to go in there and bother the Scientologists? Just listen to their glee as they annoy people.
Disgusting and gross. I mean, you should just be... I don't like ugly, stupid freaks.
What is so funny about disturbing people in their... It's not even a house of worship. I've been in one Scientology building before. On Christmas, ironically enough, I was in Ybor City, Tampa with two friends. And the Scientologists were like, hey, do you guys want to come in here and watch us sing hymns? And we were like, fuck it, dude. We're always down to see whatever these wacky people are doing. My friend ended up buying a copy of Dianetics because he was just curious about it. And he's moved 3 times since then, and they always find his address and try to make him a Scientologist. He's like, no, dude, I'm not a Scientologist. Stop finding my address. But we were in there, and they were just singing some hymns, and they gave us cookies and shit. I had no problem with the Scientologists. They were completely nice. I was talking to them. They were pleasant. There was an engineer there, a school teacher. I was like, do you guys like torture people? No, we don't do any of that. They could have been lying, but they were nice on the face of it. And you're just going to go into their building and harass? What did the Scientologists ever do to you? The Scientologists don't seem to mess with you if you're not a Scientologist. So why are you going in there? What's the big damn deal? Just don't join them. What is so funny about harassing Scientologists? And if you don't like it, then start your own cult. Start your own. What's the big deal? I don't know, dude. And I'm Catholic. I think the Catholics don't like Scientology, but I'm a postmodern Catholic, obviously. What's the big deal? Like, it's a bunch of white people doing cool shit. They're like fucking preserving old buildings. Mormonism and Scientology are white people, Nation of Islam, and I'm tired of people pretending that they're not. It's fine. What's the big deal? Mormons make meat, and the Scientologists gave me cookies once. They were red velvet cookies. Why are you harassing the Scientologists? What have they ever done to me? What have they ever done to me? Let's continue. Just disgusted by it. You can't do this.
You can't do it. It's disgusting.
Speaking of Ebonics, been saving this, man. We need to watch a little bit of this. We're not going to watch the whole thing. This is what I remember the woke being. Now, I don't know if we have a lot of send unlimited. Look, that's funny, Robert. Look, I don't know if we have any historians here. Or I'm a fake historian myself. I remember during the woke era, people started saying some ridiculous stuff about slavery. They were talking about slavery like it was John Kiriakou talking about what he did in the Middle East.
Do you waterboard him? Do you sleep deprive him? Do you put him in a cold cell? Do you beat him? Do you put cockroaches on him? Do you put hummus up his ass?
I love black people. I love white people. I love the Hispanics. I love everybody. But I love black people, obviously. And they had their struggle with slavery, absolutely. And slavery was not good. You don't just enslave people. That's not nice. I mean, who would ever think to exploit another person for less than their value and provide minimal survival things for them? Who would ever do such a thing? Would anyone ever, just pay people less than what they're worth and not allow them to leave their job because they fear losing access to healthcare and housing? Who would ever do such a thing? I mean, that's crazy. Who would ever do that? Who would do slavery? I mean, that's terrible. Who would ever do that? Anyway, but no, slavery was clearly, it was bad. It was worse than now. All right. Slavery's bad. You don't just enslave people. You don't take young people and put them in so much debt that they'll never work their way out of, give them schizophrenia and tie them to a position where they don't get paid enough for 30 years and then take away Social Security and make them work till they're 80. That would be slavery. That would be wrong. Who would ever do such? I mean, that'd be sensational.
Sensational.
Absolutely. All right. But anyway, look, slavery was bad in America, obviously. They were whipping people. You know, Bill Maher knows about that.
I'm a house nigga.
Okay, it was a problem. It wasn't a good thing. I would never defend slavery. It's bad. And slavery was horrific. You know, they used to torture black people. They used to take advantage of black women. They used to work them to the bone. It was not a great thing for the blacks. It was not good, and it was not good. Okay? However, during the woke era, people started saying things about slavery that were kind of driving me nuts. They were saying that they used to eat the slaves. And I'm sitting here wondering, look, I've never owned a slave before, right? But why would you eat a slave? You know, the hell? We're back. Let's watch this young lady explain what happened during slavery.
A not so fun fact about slavery is that they would force the mothers to bury their kids to their head, like with their head sticking out, and they would take turns kicking the child until they beheaded them. They would rape their husbands in front of the wives, and then they would force their wives to cook their child's head to serve it to the slave owners. And the most disgusting part about all of that is that the US never even fucking owned up to it, really. They really were just like, let's just teach them the bare minimum, sugarcoat it, make it seem like it was that long ago, and then we'll move on and teach them like so much other shit about the Holocaust. Why did we learn more about the Holocaust than we did about slavery? Like, tell me why. When I remember learning about the Holocaust and slavery, they would go into very specific details about what they were doing to the people during the Holocaust. Like, every fucking detail, bro. We went to a fucking Holocaust museum as a fucking field trip. Like, they teach you about segregation, they teach you about slavery and what they made the slaves do, some of the stuff they did to slaves, and the end of slavery. Which, by the way, even after, like, the laws were signed in at first to, like, kind of abolish slavery, do you really think that people just let their slaves go? Do you really think back then that they were like, okay, well, the laws have changed, let them go? No! They kept those people even after they were told not to, just like our administration did when they were told to release those people from fucking Alligator Alcatraz. Ridiculous. You wanna know some other shit? They're bringing back slavery. They're bringing it back. And you wonder why they taught you the bare minimum about slavery in school. Because they don't want you to see the signs. They don't want you to be educated on it. They don't want you to know how fucking awful the US was. And still is. Still is. We still have that attitude. Like these people are below us. And it's fucking disgusting.
Okay, that's enough. Listen, firstly, this is a little anti-Semitic.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
I was never taken to the Holocaust Museum as a kid. Was I taken to the Holocaust Museum? I don't remember being taken to the Holocaust Museum. But I should have. They should have taken me to the Holocaust Museum every week. We need to learn about the Holocaust, obviously. It was very bad. You don't just do the Holocaust. It's not good. It's bad. We should be aware of the Holocaust. I go to the Holocaust Museum every time I'm in St. Petersburg. That's where the Florida Holocaust Museum is, okay? The Holocaust Museum, you should go to the Holocaust Museum. Right now, please, buy your tickets to the Holocaust Museum and go to the Holocaust. All right. Anyway, why would we not learn about the Holocaust? Why is one at the exclusion of the other? This is a little bit, what is...
I had no idea your voice is going to sound like that, Netanyahu.
Okay, this is a little, whatever. Putting that aside for a second. I don't think that people were burying slave kids up until their neck and kicking their heads off and then making the mom cook the slave head to eat it. I just have trouble believing that's the case. Why would you do that if you own slaves? Listen, my family didn't own slaves. We liberated the slaves, actually. So I get to ask the question, all right? My ancestor, he teamed up with the blacks and the poor whites and the Indians and killed Bolivar's people, all right? He's the reason that there was no slavery in Venezuela. All right, so I'm just wondering, why would you do that to the slaves? And I just, this has to be schizophrenia, right? Like, this is insane. Afra says it's revisionist history. This is like revisionist, but in a weird way, because you're going back in time and saying that things were worse than they were. Slavery was bad enough on its own, you know, splitting up families, the sexual assaults and all this. Slavery's bad. The Holocaust was bad. You know, people died and they were like worked to death and stuff. Why are we pretending that this is worse than it was? You know, that I feel like that actually makes it like less likely that you're going to learn about slavery if you just make stuff up about slavery. Why would you do this? Slavery was a bad thing. That's J-Boss says, did you read Raoul Hilbert? I did not, sir. I don't know who that is. Effer says, the claim seems to be too shocking to be true, to be honest. I'm not saying slavery was not bad, but I just can't believe. I don't believe it either. How could you earnestly believe this? There's like one situation where you would ruin your car, right? If you owned a car and it was really shitty and it wasn't working anymore and you need an insurance payout, you would drive it into a canal, right? So it would get flooded and then you could get the claim for the value, the Kelly Blue Book, and use it to buy another car. Were there slave insurance? I'm sure there were, and I'm sure that happened. You know, they took out life insurance policies on their slaves and killed them. But, you know, this is just goddamn silly, dude. And I don't think slavery is coming. That trivializes slavery. Slavery is not coming back. Why would they bring back slavery? Why would they bring back slavery when they have the greatest slaves of all times? They're called conservatives. Conservatives love the whip. There is no better slave than the conservative. The conservative loves, he's a masochist. He's the best slave ever. Oh, J Boss, I can't read that on this on the channel. But I'll look into it. I'll look it up. Listen, I don't get into that personally. I don't get into that. In World War II, you know where my people were? They were selling oil to America, and the other ones, Chile, entered the war 2 months before it ended. That has nothing to do with me. I'm not a World War II obsessed guy. World War II had nothing to do with my people. It's like the American Civil War. You ask me what I think. I wasn't here for it. What do you want me to say? You want me to take a side here? You know, but that's just me. But obviously in Spain and Portugal, Salazar in Portugal, Franco in Spain, being neutral as usual. The Iberian is very smart at that. We are very, very good at letting everyone else destroy themselves. That's how we come out on top. All right. And now, speaking of slavery, it's time for Slave Watch, and then we can get to the stories.
I want you to take your knife. Get in them cane. Make it sing.
I'm not gonna fucking blow my life away working.
I want what I can't have.
Get yourself up and get to work right now.
I'm broke as fuck. Rent's due.
Toby, stay. Toby, stay. Toby, be good now.
Can't wait to make spreadsheets and send emails.
Let's check in on the state of American slavery. How are the slaves doing now? First of all, let's see the new hip trend for exercise.
Take you away.
Technically, according to the strict law of the Torah, not one Gentile in the world deserves to live.
What is this? What is this? What are the Goyim up to, bro? Again, from the greatest spiritual leader.
Some Gentiles are very stupid. They'll never think. They only want the beer and the alcohol and the sport and the football and the 4th of July barbecue and the beach and the tattoos and the clubs. That's all they have in mind.
I'm speechless. I really am speechless. What is this? What are my fellow goys doing, man? I'm sure this costs $130 an hour. I'm sure this is incredibly expensive. I don't understand how this works, man, how exercise trends work. It's like people, for some reason, get hypnotized into doing one specific exercise for 6 months. And it never lasts. You remember P90X for the old heads? Old heads! Do you remember P90X? That was a huge thing when I was a kid. People used to do P90X. What is this trampoline crap? I don't understand why you would pay someone. You know, I understand a physical trainer. A physical trainer is someone who's teaching you how to do an exercise correctly, how things work, you know? But this to me is signing up for the slave factory. You know, this is really the slave mentality right here.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, the slave mentality, the slave mind.
You're signing up to be led in a class of jumping like a little bunny on a trampoline. What is attractive about this? I really do wonder. What is making people sign up for them? Remember medicine balls, jazzercise? Jazzercise. What were the other? Peloton? That lasted like a year. Remember when they told us Joe Biden was on his Peloton constantly?
Sensational.
Sensational. People believed that. They really did believe that. Why would you pay for this? Why would you pay for this? I'm not anti-exercise. I just don't understand what the point of this is. You're paying to enslave yourself. Let's continue, man. Let's continue. Let's see this one over here. Let's watch. This is out of my state of Florida.
Florida State Representative Angie Nixon here. As you all know, I am embarking on a new web series called Change Can't Wait, The Wage Diaries. And so I'm currently in the grocery store preparing for the week. And I'm scared, y'all. I don't know how I'm going to be able to make $7.25 stretch to ensure that we have meals for our kids. So I think I am gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm just gonna buy enough food for me and Ashanti, and we're gonna see if we can make it do what it do. All right.
This is someone running for office in Florida complaining that they only make $7 an hour.
You fat, you stink, and you in my country. I'm the top. You can't live in your own country. You're a monkey in your country.
State Representative Angie Nixon. Is it my fault you're broke? Is it my fault? Oh, you want me to pay more money to give you more money. This is why I love Gavin Newsom. This is why I love this Patrick Bateman character we have. We need rich people in the government. We really need to go back to that. We need to go back to the rich people. Imagine begging. And that can't even be true. You can't make $7 an hour. When I was working at McDonald's, I made $8.05 an hour. That was like 10 years ago. There's no way anyone is making $7 an hour that's not an illegal immigrant named Jesus that's picking the cotton, picking the tomatoes, okay? No one is making $7 an hour. I hate this, not to get too Nietzschean here, what is this virtue signaling that comes from I'm broke? I'm broke, I'm fat, I'm ugly, vote for me. No, I want to vote for people that are attractive, rich, and cool. Why would I don't vote at all, but I'm just saying, actually, if you're broke, I actually am more scared of you because you have a personal reason to be corrupt than if you're not broke. Because if you're rich and you're going into office, why would you steal anything? You're already rich. Why would you steal anything? You're just posting this like it's a virtue. This reminds me a lot. I remember when I was a teenager and I would see these politicians talking about, you know, we have to make sure that everything is okay for our single mothers with 2 jobs. And I'm just like, what about me? What about me? What about someone who's not a single mother? What about all the women that are not single mothers? Are they not fucked too? Aren't we all fucked here? Aren't we in hell?
We live in hell. We live in the gutter.
And we're out here. What is this? Because you're broke, people should vote for you because you have to stretch your dollar? Guess what? Everyone's broke. Why would this be appealing to me? Hey, I'm broke and I can't feed my kids. Please vote for me. Actually, I'm not going to do that. Actually, why don't you get a job that makes more than $7 and then you can do so? And if you're going to do it, you have to do it AOC style. AOC was probably broke when she went into office. She was a bartender. But AOC came out there with her big chest and her big booty Latina ass. And she was yelling at you about affordability. She was like, I'm broke. I can't make any money. That's why I need you to elect. No, that's ridiculous. Why would I elect a broke person to office? I would never elect a broke. Why would we elect anyone who's broke into office? No, we need to elect rich people because rich people are not going to steal from us. Ridiculous. The virtue of weakness. The virtue of weakness. I wanted to do, this is great here, man. This is so good. Let's watch over here. Again, with the same theme, man. The Asian low self-esteem. It's going to come to blows with this, man.
White cosplayers showed up to the No Kings protest in a Bakugo cosplay, but that's not the problem. Before anyone says, oh, they had good intentions, they make me, as another fellow white person, feel comfortable going to protest. First of all, what the actual fuck are you talking about? I've been noticing how whiteness acts in activist spaces recently, and it's something, y'all. Even in a protest against authoritarianism, racism, xenophobia, deportation, state violence, fascism, a white person can and will always find a way to make the moment orbit around their own self-expression. Even if your intentions were different, because I know that I watched their video and they said that they are just trying to get traction to their page so that they can donate. What this still comes off as at the end of the day, it's not solidarity, it's strategy, it's performance. I personally have a specific gripe with white cosplayers, and especially white cosplayers on TikTok, because why have no one talked about Squid Kid 1111 passing from the extreme bullying they experienced from the white cosplayers of TikTok because they were a black cosplayer. Rest in power, Ashley Gale Paxton. But this white cosplayer literally chose Bakugo. The only king here is me, Koski Bakugo. While people are literally dying, kids are literally getting stolen, and we are literally protesting deportations and fascism, real attacks on marginalized communities of color, we decide this is the moment to make it feel less serious. And yes, they did the bare minimum by making a caption saying that they are white and privileged and acknowledge that fact, and said that not everyone can protest like this safely. This disclaimer doesn't undo the performance, like, just proves the point. If you know your whiteness gives you privilege to turn a protest into a cosplay, and you do it anyway, that is not awareness, that is indulgence. It's content farming. It's treating politics like content. And that's something that bothers me in general about white cosplayers and fandom people in activist spaces. Lean towards aestheticizing everything. There's a tendency to aestheticize everything. What am I always saying? Aesthetics pacify criticism. Aesthetics pacify criticism. I cannot.
It's 90% bullshit, but it's entertaining.
What the hell is this woman talking about? This is the essentialism, by the way, of the woke. White people can't protest because they will always be white. And because they are white in and of itself, they are not capable of relating. Look, there's a lot of things wrong with this. There's a lot of them, okay? First of all, you're Asian, and that's fine. What are you, again, with my Asian thing, you guys are doing great. Why are you mad at white people? You guys are doing better than anyone. The Latinos have been here for like 400 years, 400 years, and we're still broke. The Asians showed up like 20 years ago and they're all rich. What's the big damn deal? Why are you mad at white people? What is your gripe with white people? But anyway, what the hell is she talking about? First of all, you're not going to take down any of this. You can't protest authoritarianism. That's not how it works. That's not how it works, okay? You can't do that. It's disgusting.
You can't do it. It's disgusting.
You shouldn't be protesting at all, actually. You should be out at the bar having a good time. That's what you should be doing. But people did bring something up, which I think is worth remembering. Do you guys remember this back in the day, back when people were going real crazy? Remember these signs? Love black people like you love black dick. I only suck black, fuck racism. BBC matters. How do you open your mouth for black dicks but not for black issues? Do you remember? I remember this during George Floyd. This was the most embarrassing thing I had seen in my life, man. You might as well say the N-word.
Say the N-word, go on.
I'm glad, but I'm also not glad because I remember in the moment, it's how like everyone pretends that they hated Hamilton now. No, you didn't. I remember you liked it because I hated it at the time. Everyone loved this when it first happened. Everyone. I was over here with Larry Elder and the conservatives being like, these are the real racists. Why would you say this? Why would you reduce someone to their member? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That's disgusting. Why would you do that? I'm over here just confused while these people are making signs about fellatio and black people, which are obviously racist. This is obvious. Dude, this is what racism actually looks like, in my opinion. How do you open your mouth for black dicks, but not for... Why would you... That is obviously disgusting.
Shut up, man. Man, listen. You ain't got to say.
But this Asian woman is engaging in the same thing. All of this No Kings thing is performative crap. You're not going to sit here and pretend that it's only white people at these protests who are performative. I remember, don't you remember the little shucking and jiving they did when Joe Biden won? Well, I forget the dance. It was a real shuck and jive.
Oh, go shuck and jive, shuck and jive, go shuck and jive, shuck and jive.
There were a lot of black people shucking and jiving. There were a lot of Latinos shucking and jiving. I'm not even saying you shouldn't be happy that President Trump lost. I remember when Steven Pinker went out there and started dancing. Remember the respected Steven Pinker? You are all performative. You are all performative. You're literally putting on makeup and yelling about how much you hate white people. I mean, we're reaching levels of coonery inception.
Oh, coons, we want to have fun. Oh, coons, we want to have fun.
You're Asian. Why are you... White people have... Dude, I'm not trying to be... Maybe it's just my experience or something. I feel like... Because I know it. I go to the airport and they... Because I'm one of these Muslim-looking Latinos. They're like, you step aside. Allahu Akbar. Brother, I don't speak Arabic. I took it in college. I'm Latino. Yeah, sure, buddy. Come and do the pat down. You know, that's my experience. Whenever I have a beard on, I remember getting called a spick a couple times working in fast food, which was weird because I'm in Miami. All right, I love white people. I have no problem with the white people. The black people have treated me poorly for speaking Spanish. That's fine. I understand. You don't see me out here protesting, being all performative, being a coon. Because of this. Like, this is so damn silly. It's all performative. I just don't understand. What do Asian... Dude, brother, you get into Harvard. Like, what is the big deal? If an Asian has to get into Harvard, I bet they don't even have to write those essays. Like the essays that are like, oh my God, when I was a kid. If I wanted to get into Harvard, I have to write, my mom abandoned me when I was 3 years old. My grandma raised me. They shot my dad in the face. He survived, and then they shot him again. And then I was doing crack by the time I was 7. That's how I have to get into Harvard. You're just like, I'm Asian. I'm really smart. Oh, you are very smart. Welcome to Harvard. What the hell? What are you mad about? What have they done to you? This country's going nuts, dude. This is hell.
We live in hell. We live in the gutter.
All right. Let's get to our stories, man. Let's start with, I'm not going to edge anyone tonight. We're going to start with our main story. We have to talk about the Pope. We have to talk about the Holy Father. I'm a Catholic over here, okay? And listen, there's big news, okay? The Pope is the leader of the Catholic Church, for anyone that's not aware. Now, I remember several times, especially from Latinos, like Cubans and Venezuelans, they've never been big fans of the Pope because they're like, the Pope doesn't hate communists enough. And even when I was a teenager, I was like, is the Pope supposed to be Hitler or something? Like, is the Pope supposed to be Joseph Stalin? Is the Pope supposed to be, You know, like he's the leader of a universalist religion. The Pope is what is the Pope supposed to do? You want the Pope? I see this from right wingers online. They're like, the Pope hates white people. I don't think the Pope hates white people. I think he's just the leader of a religion. He's the vicar of Christ. Is the vicar of Christ supposed to chud post about how, like, people grooming gangs? Is that what he's supposed to do? He's the Pope. I haven't read the Bible because I'm Catholic, so we don't read the Bible. What? I don't read the Bible. If the Pope says, King Leo, you need to fast, I fast. He wanted us to fast a few years ago for the people in Palestine. I don't know anything about that. I really don't follow the issue. I fasted because he said to do it. I thought that was the rules. Why don't you read the Bible? Why am I smart? He gets paid to read the Bible. Why am I going to read the Bible? Maybe I'm too postmodernist in my Catholicism. I'm like an Italian. These other Catholics, man, like these new Catholics, they're like, you can't sin. You can't take the Lord's name in vain. Why? I just go to the confession and it goes away. That's the point of Catholicism, isn't it? Isn't it supposed to be a forgiving universalist? That's my understanding. My family was Catholic for like hundreds of years, so I don't understand what I don't know. People want the Pope to be like a badass. I don't know, dude. Like, they're like, the Pope is supposed to get out there and be like, I hate immigrants, kill all of them. I don't think he would ever say that. He's the Pope. You know, I think he's just going to speak in platitudes and talk about how we have to be nice to each other. Isn't that what you expect from the Pope? Anyway, we have a Catholic vice president. We just had a Catholic president, which was Joe Biden, second one. We have a Catholic Secretary of State. We have Catholics. He says, LOL, let your lawyer read the Bible for it. But that's how I feel. Why would I read the Bible? The Pope is there to read it and interpret it. Is that not the basis of Catholicism, that we're not supposed to? Listen, man, I just did Lent. I gave up DoorDash. And I actually find Lent to be very good. All these Orthodox are like, you're not doing real Lent because you're not going vegan for it. Yeah, I gave up DoorDash. And guess what? I realized I don't need it that much. Isn't that the point of Lent? To give up? Last year, I gave up Diet Coke. I barely drink Diet Coke now. Isn't that the point? Anyway, the Pope is not Hitler or Stalin. He's just the guy. What the fuck do you expect from him? He's the vicar of Christ. What's the big deal? Whatever. Putting this aside. There's tension between the Pope and the White House. Okay. Donald Trump, I think, is a Presbyterian or an Episcopalian. You know, the Anglicans and the, I don't understand Anglicanism. I haven't looked into it myself. I know that their Pope is the King of England. So to me, seems a little silly, but whatever. You know, if you're Anglican, you're welcome. I don't fucking get it. Anyway, people are mad because the Pope was mad, or not even mad. He was just asking for the war in Iran to end, which I think is what you would expect from the leader of the church. What is he going to go? Yo, kill all the Persians. Is that what you expect him to say in perfect English? I think he's just going to say, hey, let's chill out. Let's try to figure out a solution to this. Anyway, there's been a lot of problems between Catholics and the Trump administration, it seems. Right? And so this isn't in a vacuum. I have to play this for you. The Catholics have always been like pro-immigration, okay? They've always been pro-immigration. I don't go to church. I don't do that because I don't have to, right? We don't go to church. We don't, maybe on Christmas or something. I put up the tree. We do the Three Kings. I eat the fish on Friday during Lent. What do you expect from me? I'm in the 21st century. What do you expect? Anyway. They're not great. The Trump administration, the Catholics have been getting along. The Catholics seem to be pretty pro-immigration. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. But the Trump administration has been mad about this, their pro-immigration stance. And so here we can see tension has been building up. This was in February.
Who's not a Catholic, and I were very worried when ICE started going into churches and harassing churches. So we had here in the Archdiocese of New York that ICE would show up on Sunday Mass just in trucks and cars, and the people wouldn't come. They were
That was
scared.
happening?
That was happening here. So I called Reverend Graham and I said, we need to bring up to the religious freedom that this is a violation of religious freedom. People have the right to worship on the Sabbath. The federal government cannot impede that or harass it, and they are. Franklin Graham wisely said, let's bring it to the attention of ICE, and we did. And the director here in New York said, thanks for bringing that to my attention.
Okay, so the federal government has been doing these immigration raids, obviously. They have resulted in, some Catholic bishops being angry because they're saying you can't just come into the church, because I think that's illegal. I don't think you're allowed to do that. At least it's never been done. If it's not illegal, it's not customary. They've always been used as safe havens for illegals sometimes, okay? And he was a little mad about it, understandably, right? All right. However, the tension, it's not just that. May I remind you that President Trump posted this when they were picking a new pope after Pope Francis died. We got Pope Leo. This is what he posted. He posted himself as the Pope. I thought it was pretty funny. I really don't care. I don't think Trump can be a Pope, but that's just. I mean, he could technically be a Pope. Technically, he could, because it can be any Catholic. But I don't even think Donald Trump is Catholic. So, some Catholics didn't take too kindly to that. All right. We had this little fight here between JD Vance and Pope Francis, if I'm not mistaken, where he was arguing about Ordo Amoris, which is some sort of nerd shit. I don't know. I don't read the Bible, because he said that, let me just read it for you here. The idea that there isn't a hierarchy of obligations violates basic common sense. Excuse me.
Sensational.
He was saying that we need to take care of the people we are closest to in our nation before we take care of other people, because if the health of our nation is not good enough, then we can't take care of other people. That's actually very reasonable to me. It makes a lot of sense. How can you take care of other people if you can't take care of yourself? You always got to do that. You obviously have to do that. But this led to some conflict with the Holy See. They were not happy with his attempted theology, because I thought JD Vance was like some hillbilly white trash guy who got a job in Silicon Valley. I didn't know he had time to study theology as well. However, he had this, and it led to some tension, even more tension, okay? And even Trump surrogates like Lydia Moynihan here, she was mad at the Pope. This was in March 31st.
We're not fighting a holy war. We're fighting a war for civilization, for people of all faiths, etc. So when he blurs that line, it is causing concern among some people in and outside of the military.
I mean, he's a man of faith. I think he's seen brothers and sisters that he was over with in the Middle East get killed. This is clearly something that's very near and dear to his heart. Abraham Lincoln said, I'm not concerned about whether God is on my side. I'm concerned about whether I'm on God's side. And I think that is a good sort of guiding principle for any sort of politician. But gosh, on the Pope, I mean, this Pope has gotten so politicized. It seems like he only comments on Trump and this administration. Where was he when 30,000 Iranians were getting killed? I don't know why he always jumps in and has this little
it might
sort
be
of
because
nudge to attack Trump when
like
he would a lot of regimes to be very...
So obviously MAGA is mad that the Pope criticizes Donald Trump. Why would you care what the Pope thinks if you're not Catholic, though? And President Trump is not Catholic, so why would he care about it? I guess it's part of diplomacy, right? But I just don't really understand why you would care if you're not Catholic. It just doesn't. I don't understand where this tension is coming from. Is it because he's American? Is it because they can relate to each other on an American level? Is that why the Pope and Donald Trump seem to be having issues? Well, the reason is mainly that the Pope has spoken out against the war, as well as other cardinals. Let's see here, this cardinal here, this bishop, what he had to say about the war.
Brothers and sisters in Christ.
This is in reference to Trump's little screed where he said he was going to erase a civilization.
Reports of the increased threat of military action in Iran that includes targeting of civilian infrastructures. I wish to add my voice to that of our Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, in calling for dialogue and peace this blessed Easter season. Pope Leo has invited everyone to join him in a prayer vigil for peace on Saturday, April 11th. In solidarity with him, I make a special plea to my brother bishops, the priests, the laity, and all people yearning for true peace to join the Holy Father's vigil for peace. As we pray for peace in our world, let us entrust to the Lord all hearts that suffer and await the true peace that only He can give. Let us entrust ourselves to Him and open our hearts to Him. He is the only one who makes all things new.
Pretty benign, pretty chill. We pray for peace. I mean, shouldn't we want peace on earth? Isn't that the goal of the world? Shouldn't we want everything to be peaceful, everyone to be happy, everyone to be getting along? I'm not trying to convert you to Catholicism. I'm just wondering, does anyone not want that? Is anyone like, we want more war, we want more people dead, And the Pope, he came out and he got angry with President Trump. Not even angry, he's just hoping that there's an off-ramp with the war in Iran.
I'm told that President Trump recently stated that he would like to end the war. Hopefully he's looking for an off-ramp. Hopefully he's looking for a way to decrease the amount of violence, of bombing, which would be a significant contribution to removing the hatred that's being created and it's increasing constantly in the Middle East and elsewhere. So I would certainly continue to give this call to all leaders of the world to say, come back to the table to dialogue. Let's look for solutions to problems. Let's look for ways to reduce the amount of violence that we're facing.
Pretty benign statement, let's, can't we all get along? Isn't that just the message? It's Rodney King. Can't we all get along? But this has led to plenty of issues. So here we have the news. News reporting reveals that the Pentagon threatened Pope Leo XIV's ambassador over the Pope's anti-war statements. Quote, America has the military power to do whatever it wants in the world. The Catholic Church had better take its side. Why would the Catholic Church take anyone's side? I don't even understand why that would be the case, theoretically. Don't you want, as the leader of a universalist religion, wouldn't you just want everyone to not die? Isn't that the point? And the Pentagon threatened the ambassador, apparently. This was confirmed in Pope Leo's letters. Letters from Leo can now independently confirm that the meeting took place and that the Vatican was so alarmed by the Pentagon's tactics that Pope Leo XIV shelved plans to visit the United States later this year. Many in the Vatican saw the Pentagon's reference to an Avignon papacy, which is in the 13th or 14th century, when France bullied the papacy and took over, if I'm not mistaken, as a threat to use military force against the Holy See. So are they going to nuke the Vatican? This president of peace, are we going to nuke the Vatican? Why would you threaten? They have the Swiss Guard over. I mean, they're very cartoony. The Swiss Guard's not going to be able to put up with the invisible planes. But I just don't understand why this would be, it's going to come to blows with, let me guess, the Catholic Church. This is where we're going. We're picking fights with the Catholic Church now. Not visiting the United States, that kind of sucks. Ephra says, do you think Protestant Christianity is alien to Catholics and to some extent Judaism? The Protestant ethic is based on pull yourself up, while Catholics and Judaism is about community. I don't understand Protestants myself personally, even though, I'm a postmodern Catholic, in the sense that Protestants to me always seem to be incredibly worried about if they're sinning, if they're doing something bad. They are talked about in a derogatory way where they say like they're Jesus freaks. Protestants always think they're going to get hummus shoved up their ass.
Do you waterboard him? Do you sleep deprive him? Do you put him in a cold cell? Do you beat him? Do you put cockroaches on him? Do you put hummus up his ass?
They always think that they can't, they're always very, I'm just like, dude, just go to the confession. What's the big deal? Why are you being neurotic about this whole thing? Because I understand why Judaism makes people neurotic. It's a very strict religion. It has strict rules, and Islam as well. But with Christianity, I'm like, you don't even have to do anything. You just like chill out and you go to the confession. You know, that's it. I really don't understand. And the Protestants like to work. They think work is good for its own sake. And the Catholics are just here like, dude, enjoy a mango. What are you doing here? You know, we're working just to get by. And obviously that probably plays into why the Protestants have outperformed the Catholics in a lot of ways. You look at a Catholic country, it's not doing great. We're kind of a lazy, sweet siesta people. But I think we're more chilled out. You know, whenever a Protestant shows up, you know, it's like, brother, why are you worried about sinning or something? Just chill out. Just go to the confession. What's the big deal? Why are you mad? You're mad because you took the Lord's name in vain? Brother, just go to the fucking confession. It'll go away. What's the big deal? I don't know if I'm interpreting the religion incorrectly. That's how I do it as a postmodern Catholic. But yeah, I do think it's alien. I don't think we understand I don't understand the Jewish people at all, dude. I'm just like, you can't mix meat with the thing and you can't eat the pork. Why? Why can't you eat the pork? The pork tastes good, you know? But I mean, it's up to them. That's their thing. I'm not trying to convert them or anything. I'm not an evangelist. I think that's disrespectful, honestly. You should be able to do whatever you want. If you want to pick hell and be like worried about, what do Protestants worry about? They worry about everything. They're worried about everything all the time. They're very, very neurotic. And so, yeah, I think it's alien. But yeah, so nuke the Vatican is the new policy. All right, great stuff, right? Just wanted to show you here. This is our vice president who is Catholic, and he met with Pope Leo last year. My friend was on this trip, shook hands. He notably did not kiss the ring, which you're supposed to do. Now, I myself, you know, being a little bit detached from it, I wouldn't like to kiss a man's ring or anything like that. It's not really my thing. And JD Vance had to say this about it. But this is why it's important, because JD Vance is like the only guy who is Catholic. And I mean, there's Rubio, of course, but, you know, English-speaking American Catholic in the administration.
Yes. Okay, so I am a Catholic. I believe that he, meaning Pope Leo, is actually the shepherd of 1.4 billion Catholics. And so there are things like bowing before him, kissing the ring, that are signs of respect for a spiritual father, okay? But on the world stage, I'm not there as JD Vance, a Catholic parishioner. I'm there as the Vice President of the United States and the leader of the President's delegation to the Pope's inaugural Mass. And so, you know, it was interesting, some of the protocols about how I respond to the Holy Father were much different than how I might respond to the Holy Father. How might you might respond to the Holy Father purely in your capacity as a citizen. And so that's just like one very concrete observation about the tensions. So is there action? Yes. Okay, so
JD Vance did not follow the protocol because he is a weird Catholic. I don't understand what JD Vance, dude, he's a late convert like Peter Thiel. I mean, Peter Thiel's a Catholic and he's gay with 2 kids. Nothing against it. You know, I think Peter Thiel is a father, not in spite of his homosexuality, but because he's a homosexual. And nothing against homosexuality. But why I'm bringing this up is because this is a guy who can mediate this conflict. They interviewed him about it while he was in Hungary, chudmaxing, talking about with Viktor Orban.
The last couple of days of the Free Press story, saying that senior Pentagon officials in January, including Rich Colby, brought Cardinal Pierre into the Pentagon.
Brought who?
Cardinal Christophe Pierre into the Pentagon.
I haven't seen the story, unfortunately.
And essentially the reporting by the Free Press is that they told him that the American military has a lot of might and they can do whatever they want, and the church should get on its side. Does that message sound correct to you? Is that something you would sign off on?
So one, I with no disrespect to the Cardinal, I don't know who Cardinal Christophe Pierre is.
He's the ambassador to the Holy See and the U.S.
Oh, okay. I've met him before. Sorry, I just didn't remember the name. I've never seen this reporting. I'd like to actually talk to Cardinal Christophe Pierre and, frankly, to our people to figure out what actually happened. I think it's always a bad idea to offer an opinion on stories that are unconfirmed and uncorroborated, so I'm not going to do that.
So obviously he took the chickened out. Can't really answer the question. It's an odd position, right? Because you're between your faith and your role in government. And this satirical page posted this: breaking, the Pope is reportedly not afraid to excommunicate JD Vance from the Catholic Church. Now, this is obviously satire. It's very funny. The Pope wouldn't say this, at least not at this moment. However, we as Baudrillardians know that if you speak something, you got to be careful because it might actually become real. And I don't really understand why you would pick this fight. All the Pope said was that he wanted the war in Iran to end. He can't even do anything about it. He's not going to send the Swiss Guard to side with Iran and fight America. This is getting a little ridiculous in the White House, where why are you fighting with the Pope like this? You know, he's just the vicar of Christ. I don't really understand. Do you not appreciate how insane this is? I don't think this has happened before. Obviously, there's been anti-Catholic violence and sentiment in the United States before. But the president is pissed at the Pope only because he has called for peace, it seems like. Because he's criticized him when it comes to peace and immigration. And why can't you just say, like, I agree to disagree? Because I have a feeling that this is going to be some sort of Greenland situation and that we all come out unsatisfied and don't understand what actually happened. Because this strikes me as a sort of why would you threaten? Why would the Pentagon? I think the Vatican knows that the Pentagon could destroy it at any moment. So what's the big deal? I don't understand. So yeah, that's our update. This is why we do the show, to keep the history. Don't ever forget that this happened, because this is really something. This is really something. Why is this a good idea? I don't know. Is this what MAGA voted for fighting the Pope? Because the Pope said to have peace in Iran? Might as well do it, right? Might as well do it. All right. That's our serious news. Now let's get back to the other news. We have to talk about Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly, one of the worst to ever do it. So Megyn Kelly, last night, we saw her say this.
I'd still vote Republican over. I mean, honestly, Trump could drop a nuke and I'd still vote Republican over those people.
Now, Megyn Kelly, we analyze her because Megyn Kelly is a great wrangler. She's a great overseer. Megyn Kelly is a wrangler for the middle-aged white woman Republican, is my understanding. That's who her audience is. It's going to be like 35 through 55-year-old white women who are right-wing, despite her promoting trans kids in the past and working for MSNBC and hating Donald Trump only 10 years ago and not supporting him during his first presidency and getting Roger Ailes fired and saying she was sexually harassed at Fox News. Megyn Kelly, for some reason, is the lady that people go to as a thought leader when it comes to this. Now, what has happened that's interesting is that Megyn Kelly, since the Iran war ended, has said this. Let's see this. Because after Trump's little tirade on Easter.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I am sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. Can't he just behave like a normal human? I mean, honestly, like the president, 3D, yes, shut up. Fucking shut up about that shit. You don't threaten to wipe out an entire civilization. We're talking about civilians just casually in a social media post. You know, like I am the first to try to understand Trump and his strategy and to not freak out over his weird social media posts and language that is loose and incendiary. Truly, I've lived with it for 10 plus years. I learned it the hard way when I was on the receiving end of it for 9 months. And truly, I think that was a gift to me in many ways because it helped me really come to understand what he does with his social media. But this is completely irresponsible and disgusting. This is wrong. It's wrong. He should not be doing it. I don't care that it's his negotiation tactic is to kill an entire country full of civilians, men, women, and children. An American president so that the Strait of Hormuz will be opened. It's just wrong. It's not hard to say it. It's not hard to recognize it. I wish he would stop doing this. Like, he can't negotiate without doing this. What does that say about him? What does that say about the position that our country is in right now in these negotiations? He's got to say this. He can't be a dignified, strong leader without threatening a bunch of war crimes.
This is in reference.
Hang on.
Hang on. This is in reference to Trump's tweet where he was going to eliminate a civilization. She had only said a few days before that he could nuke the world. So we need to. What is going on here? What is going on? What is this bitch on about? This woman is a schizophrenic. This woman is literally crazy. She changes on a dime so
sensational.
This is designed to drive middle-aged white woman crazy. How can you go from the lady who's saying he could nuke whoever he wants and it's okay to this? I don't understand how this works here. This is, why are you mad? You just said he could nuke. She is a lawyer who, I remind you, said we should torture people to death. She said that would be the best thing. Now, what's interesting is since the end of the Iran war, let's listen to what she had to say here on Piers Morgan. And let's also watch what Piers has to say, because Piers does some crazy shit.
Say the N word, go on.
Let's see what he has to say here about the end of the war.
Trump watched us learn it. And so what led Trump, at 79 years old, to sit in there in that situation room when Bibi Netanyahu was seated as an equal?
Yeah.
Trump didn't even sit at the head of the table. Trump sat at the side of the table, and Bibi was across from him as an equal in the American Situation Room. What led him to sit there and buy what that guy was selling hook, line, and sinker when every other president was able to see through that liar? What was it? Because he was told the next day by our own top advisors, from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to the Secretary of State to the vice president, that these are lies and that these objectives are not going to be attainable. Don't believe him. We might be able to wipe out the Ayatollah, not regime change, Ayatollah. And we might be able to decimate some portion of their missiles and their military. Okay, that's true. But the goals as stated by Trump when we actually did pull the trigger were all over the board. And to this moment, he's pushing the BS claim that we affected regime change. No, we didn't. It's the same regime, just different players. There isn't somebody more moderate in there at all. We have no reason to believe that. In fact, it looks like the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is in control now, which is far more radical. And the fatwa that had allegedly been issued by the Ayatollah on developing nukes is gone. Iran is more powerful economically. It controls the Strait and now is demanding the lifting of all sanctions against it. And what Trump did with that 10-point plan was go from Monday saying, no, not good, to Tuesday saying, very workable, we can do it, as a means of saving face to bail off of his insane threats about annihilating an entire civilization. So I don't know how we got here, Piers. I'd like to know just as much as anybody else, but all I can think in my head, based on what I've read in the paper, is we got here thanks to Bibi Netanyahu, Lindsey Graham, and Mark Levin. And ultimately President Trump. That's not to take agency away from the president, who was bamboozled. I don't know why. He was too weak to say no. He was too gullible to see through the lies. One way or another, he allowed himself to be pushed into this insane conflict.
Now, my question here is, how is this any different from this? You know what I'm referencing there. You know what I'm playing there. Piers Morgan gave Kanye so much shit for his little crash out. Kanye, the greatest to ever do it.
Shut up. Be quiet before you get exiled.
When he put out his song, which obviously it's not a good song. It's anti-Semitic.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
But now he has on and he's nodding along as Megyn Kelly is saying that the Jews took us to war in Iran. I mean, that's what she's saying. Am I wrong? That's what she's saying. Piers, what is going on here, Piers? I'm confused.
Say the N word, go on.
You gave my boy Kanye so much shit for saying the same thing, basically, a year and a half ago, and now you're just nodding along? All he did was make a song. He didn't even say anything. Well, no, he did say some stuff. But anyway, what is this bitch on about? And Piers, buddy, you told me that we had to cancel him, that we had to. You're saying the same thing. And normally, I love Piers. I love him. I have nothing against Piers. Piers is one of the best to ever do it, obviously. However, Piers, like you're now changing. When is Kanye back on Uncensored? When is Kanye going to be rehabilitated? Because what did he do that was any different to what this crazy bitch is saying right now? And you know what? She's probably somewhat right. I'm sure Bibi Netanyahu had influence on this. The big boss always wins. Ephra says, who do you think is really pulling the strings in U.S. policy? If you guess it was the I country, no, think about it deeply. It's actually the military-industrial complex. I think it's a series of interests, Ephra. But yes, absolutely, just selling weapons is a huge part of America. One of my favorite Trump moments was during the first term when he said, obviously, we're not going to be mad about Khashoggi. We have to sell Saudi Arabia weapons. That's where we get people jobs. So what's the big deal? You know, like, but, you know, and I actually agreed with him. It's like, okay, Saudi Arabia can, you know, when Trump, one of the best Trump moments was like, you don't think we have killers too? You know, you don't think we've killed any people? That was also, I was like, this is a very realist position. I agree. We have to sell these weapons to everyone. That's how you keep jobs in Ohio or whatever. But yeah, the MIC plays a huge part of it. Absolutely. But now she's saying the same bullshit on here. Okay. And here she is betraying Donald Trump even more. Look at this. Look at this again. Look at this.
So we've upset our allies. We've pleased Israel, although now they're upset there's a ceasefire. We've upset the American base. The Trump coalition that got him elected is completely fractured and in smithereens. And he doesn't care, Piers, because he doesn't care about the Republican Party. He cares about himself. If Trump had to get reelected, he probably would have handled this a little differently. But he doesn't care that the Republicans are going to lose the midterms. I think he thought that was a foregone conclusion. And I don't think he cares.
I think we should play this in the background, actually, while she says this.
That JD Vance or Marco Rubio wins the presidency next time around. I think there's a piece of Trump that would like to say, I'm the only one who could do it. The Republican Party's nothing without me. And the rest of us are going to be around to pick up the pieces.
I mean, a fascinating assessment. I mean, I remember early on you picking up, as I did, on what Rubio had said about the reason why America went in. And then the immediate backtracking the next day when they panicked and realized they'd let the cat out of the bag. This was clearly a Netanyahu-driven operation. He had persuaded Trump to come with him. Then we had Antony Blinken saying, well, actually, he tried to do this when Biden was president, when Obama was president, and both times those two guys said, no, we're not going to come with you. And then he didn't attack. So he clearly got third time lucky with an American president that would come with him. But I remember early on, you and I and others who dared to suggest that we take Rubio at his word, that actually this was all at Israel's behest. Once again, we were anti-Semitic if we said that. This was a hatred of Israel that was driving our warped, crazed minds. And then you read this deep dive in the New York Times. Fascinating. I mean, what's most fascinating to me, they've got somebody on the inside telling them exactly what happened in that situation, which is fascinating. But when you see it all laid out, it's crystal clear. That's exactly what happened. That Netanyahu got in that situation room at the White House, like you say, unprecedented. The way he had the guy from Mossad on the big screen, he had him there with his, it was like two equal partners. And he persuaded Trump in that room to go in. And
this is crazy. He gave Kanye so much shit for saying something pretty similar.
Netanyahu, what do you have to say?
Piers Morgan is saying that the president of Israel is who persuaded us to go into this war. This is literally what Kanye said. Well, not exactly, but it's very... So now it's cool. Where is justice for Kanye? Like, what did Kanye do wrong? This crazy bitch is on here saying the same thing. This is what I hate about conservatives. This is what I hate about them, man. They will just steal anything. I need to play you the Richard Spencer thing about conservatives, man. These people are just disgusting. They will never invent something of their own. They will never, ever, ever. They are a disgusting people, man. Let me see. Where is it? Here we go. Where is it, man? There's a great Spencer clip of him talking about this. Fuck, man. Where is it? Dead air. Fuck, man. It's a great clip. He says it. He's like, they will never invent anything. They will only steal from you 10 years later, everything you said that was original, they will just steal it from you. That's all conservatives are good for theft. They are intellectual property thieves. That's all they do. That is all they do. And it's really disgusting, man. It's really, really, really something. See if I can find it, man. Where is it? If not, I'm going to add that to the soundboard. Where is it? Conservatives. This is why I hate them, man. I hate them so much, man. Where is it? God damn, dude. Anytime you need something, it won't come up. It will never come up when you need it. Whatever. The show must go on. The show goes on. Jesus Christ, man. It's just ridiculous. All right. And let's keep on watching Meghan, because this is very important. Here we have to see her talk about this on her own show. I had everything says other great Trump moments when he was taking pictures with Kim Jong-un and Trump said something like nice and thin. And Kim just looked at him like, what the that was way back, dude. I was actually hopeful about that meeting. I thought we were going to be able to like get some freedom for those people or bring them some freedom. But it didn't seem that way. Henry Ford and JP Morgan. All right. Let's continue. Let's watch her today on her show.
Mark Levin is unhappy, which makes me happy. And I'm sure you too, as you said at the top. But he and Lindsey Graham are both, of course, they're truly in love with President Trump right now. These original Never Trumpers are very much in love with President Trump because he did this. But they're having to really reconcile with it, Kurt, because he's not ending it the way they want. They don't want it ended at all. They want it to keep going and going and going. So they're really wrestling. And I want to show you some of that. Mark Levin was on Hannity last night. And honestly, you can see like near tears, like really trying to control his emotions over the fact that President Trump is trying to wrap this up now. It's not 6.
I trust President Trump. I know his heart. I know he wants to do the right thing. I know he has Lilliputians who are telling him to do something else. I know he has other advisors telling him to do.
By the way, this crazy motherfucker, dude, this guy's crazy. If you listen to this guy's show, I don't even know how you could, man. This show is just bullshit. It's 100.
It's 90% bullshit, but it's entertaining.
This guy is literally a crazy person. He's unhinged, Mark Levin. This guy, even, dude, you can agree with him, but he is actually insane. He said that Zohran Mamdani is going to bring Sharia law to New York. Where is that? Well, how can we be worried about Iran when we have Sharia law right now? That's what he told me.
Something else. He's the most understanding, competent of the bunch. But I would say this enemy is still the enemy. They're still surviving. Their military may be destroyed, but the communist Chinese will still help them. The Russians will still help them to rebuild. And so this thing's not over. And it's not that I'm a warmonger. It's that they're a warmonger. It's not that I'm an interventionist. They're an interventionist. I agree with the president. We need to protect our country. We need to protect our homeland. They're not going to go away if there's not regime change. And we're going to have to figure out, and it's not going to be easy, how to keep our foot on their throat. And I pray this enemy drops dead. How do you like that?
I kind of like it.
You see him at the end where he's like blinking his eyes. He's doing deep breathing. I'm just going to show you one more. Sot 7.
What do we do to enforce whatever it is we agree to? How do we enforce it? Are we going to have a rearrangement of our military? We're going to have another base there? But how are we going to do that? What about the people of Iran? What are we going to just leave them there? There's nothing that we can do, and we're going to...
Well, what were we going to do with them anyway, Mark Levin? What were we going to do? We're going to bring them over here?
Wash our hands over that? That, to me, is morally very difficult to accept.
Yeah, I'm sure it is for Mark Levin. He wants us there forever. He would like us to be an occupying force full-time in Iran after we continue this war for some untold number of months or years to accomplish all of his goals. And meanwhile, Kurt, what you have from Lindsey Graham is a demand that we get this before Congress now. Now I look forward, he says, to getting this before Congress, where he thinks it belongs so that he can get to the bottom of who pushed this whole thing through, this ceasefire, and, how it went down. He says, I look forward to the architects of this proposal, the vice president and others, coming forward to Congress and explaining how a negotiated deal meets our national security objectives in Iran. One more before I toss it back to you, and that's Laura Loomer, forgive me for citing this absolute fucking lunatic to you in the context of a serious discussion. But she tweets out, luckily, President Trump wasn't in charge of the negotiations. Trump understands the real danger and threat posed by this regime, which is why people around him, I'm sure we can all figure out who planted the New York Times story, stabbed him in the back yesterday by leaking private Situation Room conversations to the New York Times to pretend like they were against the war, when many of those people are on the record supporting the war themselves. So this is a direct threat against JD Vance, obviously. And all three of these folks seem to be saber-rattling against the vice president. Your thoughts on it?
Now, this is the real important analysis here, man. I think that my producer and I figured this out. If you listen to Megyn Kelly closely there, what they are trying to do, because we've been trying to understand for a while what the plan is from Tucker Carlson, from Megyn Kelly, from these idiots on the other, I mean, not idiots, but you're going to see the idiocy when I explain this to you, okay? Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson, their plan, it seems to me to be to blame everyone in the Trump administration for this Iran war except JD Vance. And in doing that, assuring that JD Vance will be able to be clean and be able to ascend to the presidency in the next cycle. For some reason, which I'm not aware of, JD Vance, in my opinion, is a fat, disgusting slob. He is just...
You fat, you stink, and you in my country. I'm the top. You can't live in your own country. You're a monkey in your country.
He is a monkey in his country. He is the worst of the worst. He is a disgusting slob. I don't like JD Vance. I don't like him. I really don't. I don't think he's actually fighting for America. I think he hates America.
Why are you in our country? You need to go back.
He's a bad guy, okay? And what we already know, he cannot win the presidency, okay? And this was said so succinctly by, in a very short clip, by, of all people, this streamer, Clavicular, who we talked about in the past. May I remind you what he had to say about JD Vance?
Yeah, but I mean, like this next election cycle, who's going to win? It's going to be Gavin Newsom against JD Vance because JD Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs.
JD Vance is subhuman?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
He's got a very short total facial width to height ratio. He's obese, very recessed side profile, whereas Newsom is like 6'3" Chad. Yeah, but
we already know that he's going to win. Okay, it's just not, it's not going to work out. He is fat, he is ugly, he is stupid. But for some reason, and you need to watch out for this. You really do, because I've already seen them planting it in the press that JD Vance was the only one who was against this. Well, only in America can you expect it so that to evade responsibility at an organization that you willingly joined, you're going to blame it on the guy you willingly chose to work for. Did JD Vance have a gun to his head when he was told to run for vice president? In fact, that makes you worse if you were in the administration and did something, went along with something that you are saying is bad. This is, putting it aside, the fact that he's fat, ugly, stupid, disgusting.
You can't do it. It's disgusting.
He's a disgusting, JD Vance is literally, dude, JD Vance is probably the one who's torturing Jordan Peterson right now. JD Vance is a guy who has Jordan Peterson in a wine cellar at the White House, like Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. It rubs the benzodiazepines against its throat, or it gets the hose again. That's what JD Vance is doing. JD Vance is a freak. JD Vance is disgusting. He's an ugly freak.
Disgusting and gross. I mean, he should just be... I don't like ugly, stupid freaks.
He is the worst. He does not... But they really think that by doing this, they're going to... And I don't know why. I think that JD Vance, they project onto him that he's going to fight for them, for the Tucker wing, for the Megyn Kelly wing. Why would he do that? If he went along, this is why I fucking hate conservatives, dude. If he is part of the organization that failed you, if he is only a conservative fucking slave, dude, that's what they are. They're slaves. Conservatives are slaves.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, the slave mentality. The slave mind.
A conservative is a slave. A conservative, Massa, I know the overseer ain't as bad as Massa. Why don't we just elect the overseer? If Massa wasn't there, the overseer would treat us kindly. No, he won't. You are a loser. This is the only thing that causes me frustration, is trying to understand the mind of the conservative. The conservative is just such a low being. He is so disgusting. Why would it work this way? If I went to Krispy Kreme and they had a manager and an assistant manager and I bought a donut and the donut gave me food poisoning, why would I want the assistant manager to run the Krispy Kreme? How would that eliminate the food poisoning? He works with the... I feel like this is so simple, but they are just such losers. They are so disgusting. They are... I hate everything says. Not gonna lie, that tan Megyn Kelly makes her look hot. Jeez.
Shut up. Be quiet before you get exiled.
No gooning. No gooning. I figured it out, Leo. It's actually Dave Smith who called Trump. Dude, this guy's gonna get exiled for real. And Trump said to him, you know what, Dave? That's a great idea. You're a smart man, a tremendous man. I like you, Dave.
Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that? What's that, brother?
No. No, sir. No. No. And I saw an article that said Rand Paul is going to run. Interesting. That's going to work out great, right? What's he going to yell about? Just like he's going to do the Ron Paul revenge tour. He's going to yell about the Fed forever. Brother, I can't find the original one, but since we're out of time, let me see if this one is good enough, man. Like, Richard Spencer has the best criticisms of conservatives. I really would love to interview him one of these days, dude. I love my combo-loving liberal conservative.
So
let's listen to what he has to say on this clip. Everything this man says after he got knocked up in the head by that Antifa guy is just on point.
So much of American society is kind of letting technology happen or something. It's like, oh wow, at one point we had books and now we have iPads and we have it's just this liberalism of kind of hands off of social development. At one time we were men and women in a family, now we're gays, and so they're conservatives. And I say this as someone who's outside of their realm. You ultimately have to assert your will on the world,
yes,
in order to transform it. You can't just say, just leave me alone, I'm okay, and so on. You need to say, no, we're actually, and I'm not necessarily supporting this, but let's ban iPads. You can't own a television until you're 18 or something like that, hypothetically speaking. And we have compulsory athletics. You must participate. You must socialize.
Well, one of the big conservatives, this is perfect, man. This is why they're the losers that they are. If only we get JD Vance elected, then we'll have everything we wanted, despite him failing with our goals the first time. Conservatives should be judges, honestly, man. If conservatives were the judges, they think George Soros lets people go. You watch when a conservative is a judge. You watch. A conservative judge is going to sit there in front of a triple murderer and say, well, what if the shoe was on the other foot? What if I were there? Actually, I don't think it would be fair to send him to jail. That's not allowed because that's not appropriate. Actually, I think the real murderers are the victims because they got in his way. That's a conservative judge. A conservative is just such a fucking loser. They are the biggest losers in the world. I hate them. Why would JD Vance be the appropriate candidate for you if he failed you already? If he failed you already, why would this strategy work? He was there when they did it. If you are at a drug deal and someone is shot and you did not shoot him, you go to jail for murder. That's how it works in Florida. I don't know if it works like that in the other states. Why would it be any different when it comes to the political? JD Vance was there when the war was launched. If he was against it, why didn't he resign? Why didn't he resign? Why didn't he walk away? Why didn't he literally say, I'm going to resign? I'm going to call people in the military and tell them not to fight. I'm a military guy. Why not commit treason if you really are this against it? Why not? Why wouldn't he do that? But no, it's just fucking ridiculous, dude. We live with the dumbest people on the planet, man. The dumbest people. This ugly freak is going to be there. I think that, especially considering what I Hate Everything said, he's going to enjoy this clip here. Look at this clip here. I just wanted to throw this in for fun. This is our moment of zen. Let's see Megyn Kelly talking about hormone replacement therapy.
Yes, I love it. I have to say, so I'm doing HRT and I love it. And I will say, like, it's resolved so many things like that were going wrong with me that I had no idea were hormone related. Like I had very annoying dry eye and it's gone. Like it's completely resolved the dry. It's like crazy. Who knew that was related to hormones and other weird things that suddenly are no longer present. You feel better. You look better. Your skin is better. You feel more vibrant. The brain fog, like there's so many advantages to it, but people don't want to talk about it because I don't know, it's a sign of getting older or for some, you say testosterone, you're like, what's going on down south? Well, no, like it'll help you everywhere, including there. But like, there's no shame in getting older and having these things happen and you saying,
this is I Hate Everything right here. This is I Hate Everything.
No, I refuse. I'm going down swinging.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look amazing, Megyn. I mean, if anybody was the perfect poster child for HRT, it's you. You really do look incredible, and I think that it's it's true. I mean, all those things that you just mentioned, you can actually there's science behind it. The data is there. This stuff works.
Just simping on the timeline, simping on the Megyn Kelly show. Just crazy stuff. I thought she hated trans people too. Why was she do the hormone replacement therapy? Look at that Riz though. Look at the Riz again, one more time.
You look amazing, Megyn. I mean, if anybody was the perfect poster child for HRT, it's you. You really do look incredible.
Why are you gassing her up? That's crazy. Why are you imagine rizzing up Megyn Kelly on the Megyn Kelly show? You're like, you look amazing, Megyn. Wow. You're a real fox, Megyn. Isn't that crazy? One more time. I mean, this is the kind of guy that he's just at the bar talking to everyone.
Well, no, like it'll help you everywhere, including there. But like, there's no shame in getting older and having these things happen and you saying, no, I refuse. I'm going down swinging.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look amazing, Megyn. I mean, if anybody was the perfect poster child for HRT, it's you. You really do look incredible, and I think that
wow. I can't goon. He can goon. I hate everything. Says no wonder she looks hotter now. Well, you got to hit her with this when you see her. You got to be like, Megyn, you look incredible. That hormone replacement therapy is working for you. It's giving hormone replacement therapy. Ephra says, was that gooning on live? That was gooning on live TV. I feel like it should be illegal to show this on the Megyn Kelly show. Sensation, more like goonsation. One more time. Let's just look at the sensation. Sensational. Look at this Riz. One more time. One more time.
Older, or for some, you say testosterone, you're like, what's going on down south? Well, no, like it'll help you everywhere, including there. But like, there's no shame in getting older and having these things happen and you saying, no, I refuse. I'm going down swinging.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look amazing, Megyn. I mean, if anybody was the perfect poster child for HRT, it's you. You really do look incredible, and I think that
look at that gooning on live TV. That's really something. My God, sensational. Dude, I'm really trying to find this clip, man, because it was very, very good, and it's like famous, and I don't know why I can't find it. Where Spencer just talks mad shit about these people. Because there's no one who deserves more vitriol from you. No matter, look, whether you're left wing or right wing, a liberal, a phalangist, a fascist, a communist, a Marxist Leninist, a wokey, a I don't know, any ideology, no one deserves your hatred more than the conservative. The conservative is the lowest being of animal. Conservatives are lower than scum. Like they are really the bottom of the barrel. You guys know me. And look, conservatives are welcome on the channel if you can put up with it, but just conservatives, I don't understand the mentality. We're going to elect JD Vance because he's going to do it right this other time. What past performance is indicative of future performance. Why would it work that way? Why would you think that that's accurate? And everything says MILF Kelly. Phalangist. Brother, Jose Primera presente, you know? The phalangist, man. Those were some interesting guys. You know who was a phalangist, sort of? Was Correa down in Ecuador. Even though he was a socialist, he was a total like phalangist guy. I'm gonna find this and bring it back. We might bring it to the soundboard, everyone. I appreciate everyone tuning in, and now this is pissing me off. I really appreciate Robert once again for the big super chat. Robert, you are sensational. Let's do a sensational for that. Sensational. We're gonna do that for the super chats too from now on. That's great stuff. That's hot stuff, to quote Richard Spencer. I appreciate everyone tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow. And we have a little bit more time. No, we're out of time, dude, because we had some other stuff we want to talk about. I want to talk about Luigi Mangione's letter to Patrick Bet-David, the numbers guy. But we'll do that tomorrow. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Check out the new video about school. I'm curious what you guys have to say about it. And I like, comment, and subscribe if you're new here. I will see you guys tomorrow.
Change the world. My final message. Goodbye. 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 Change the world. My final message. Goodbye.